Hello, Bruchim Habayim, welcome. And today we're going to learn to chant the special trope of Shirat HaYam, the Song of the Sea. And we're going to read it this week, Parshat B'Shalach. And in the Ashkenazi tradition, there is a special melody that we use, but be careful, we don't use it in all the verses of Shirat HaYam. As the famous saying goes, familiarity makes for contempt. So maybe that's why the tradition is that we only use this melody in verses with God's name. So anytime the verse contains Adonai or Elohim or El, we're going to chant the second half of the verse in a special melody. So whenever there's God's name, second half special melody. Now, why is that? There's a remez in the Shirat HaYam itself. One of the first verses is Ze Eli ve'anvehu, Elohei avi va'aromemenu. This is my God, and I will beautify him. So you can see there is a nice drush here that the Masoretes that developed, that whenever there's God's name, we want to make that verse beautiful. We want to beautify the verse, so we have a special melody for that verse. The verses that contain God's name. So let's see an example. We're going to use this verse itself. This verse, let's do the regular chant, the regular trope. So that will be in black. Okay, so this is how it would sound. Ze Eli ve'anvehu, Elohei avi va'aromemenu. But because this does contain God's name, right? Immediately you can see Eli and Elohei. So let's color it in the special Song of the Sea color, the blue, because it was in the ocean. And this is how it would sound. Ze Eli ve'anvehu, Elohei avi va'aromemenu. So that's what we're going to do every time there is God's name in a verse. So let's go now throughout the entire Shirat HaYam. I'm going to pull it up on my screen here. And without further ado, what you want to do is, as you get to the second half of the verse, you quickly scan the verse to see if there's God's name. So on the first verse, we see immediately, of course, here there is Adonai and then Ashir al Adonai. So we already know once we start the second half, it will have the special melody. And you do that for every verse. And you'll see, you'll get the hang of it. So let's begin. אז ישיר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני ויאמרו לאמור השירה לאדוני כי גאו גאה סוס ורוכבו רמה וים עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לי לישועה זה אלי וענווהו אלוהי אבי וארוממנו Adonai ish milchama, Adonai shemo. Now the next verse does not contain God's name. If you quickly scan it, so it will have the regular trope. Malkevot paro vechelo yarav vayam, umivchar shalishav tub'u v'yam suf, tehomot yechasyumu, yardu v'imtzolot kemo aven. Oh, now I see that God's name appears here. So I'm going to get ready to use that special melody in the second half. Yemincha Adonai nedari b'koach, Yemincha Adonai tir'atz oyev, uverov geoncha taharos kamecha, teshalach acharonecha yochlemo kakash, uveruach apecha ner mumayim, nitzvu chemoned nozlim, כפו תהומות בלב ים, אמר אויב, ארדוף אשיג, אחלק שלל, תמלא אמו נפשי, אריק חרבי, תורישמו ידי. נשפת ורוחך, כי שמו ים, צללו כעופרת, במים אדירים. Oh, now we have a verse with God's name, so the second half will be chanted with a special melody. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. נשאת ימינך, ציב להם ארץ, נחית בחסדך, עמזו גאלת, נהלת ועוזך אל נווה קודשך, שמעו עמי מעיר גזון, חיל אחז יושבי פלשת. אז נבהלו אלופי אדום, אלי מואב יוחזה מורד, נמוגו כל יושבי חנן. Oh, I see the next verse is going to have God's name. You see it right here. Amcha Adonai. So, תיפול עליהם אימץ ופחד, בגדול זרועך ידמו כאבן, עד יעבור עמך אדוני, עד יעבור עמזו קנית, תביאמו ותתאמו בהר נחלתך, מכון שבטך פעלת אדוני, מקדש אדוני כוננו ידיך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, כי סוס פרעה ברכבו בפרשיו בים, וישב אדוני עליהם את מי הים, ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים. Now this text does not continue, but there's one more verse, and that's when Miriam, the prophetess, with the women, she's saying also the Song of the Sea. So let's switch. I hope this switches also in my sharing, right? So here, this will be the next verses, and she takes the tambourine, she goes out dancing, and then here, this is the verse. ותען להם מרים, שירו לאדוני כי גאו גאה, סוס ורוכבו רמה וים. And that concludes the Shirat HaYam, the Song of the Sea. So keep on practicing and good luck in your reading. Behatzlacha.